May dagdag na paraan laban sa COVID-19. Together, we can be the Solusyon Plus. Bida Plus sa maayos na daloy ng hangin. Bida Plus sa maikling pisikal na interaksyon. Bida Plus sa pagsuporta sa bakuna. Bida Plus sa mga kwento ng kaligtasan sa Bida Barangay. Sa dagdag na pag-iingat, maraming buhay ang maliligtas. Bida Solusyon Plus laban sa COVID-19.
Organic acai has very high levels of antioxidants and essential nutrients that help keep your immune system strong. Organic acai premium blend and freeze-dried capsules daily to help increase your resistance against harmful viruses. Keep yourself and your family healthy and protected with Organic.
Mahalagang paalala, ang Organic Acai Premium Blended Freeze-Dried Capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamitin panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Of all the tough decisions you have to make today, your family's health doesn't have to be one of them. Not when you have the choice to go organic and live full, natural, and holistic lives. So start your day right. Load up on antioxidants. Choose only organic superfoods. And keep the momentum going. We're making it easy for you. Live organic, choose organic. It's easier than you think.
Mahalagang paalala, ang Organic Acai Premium Blended Freeze-Dried Capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamitin panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Previously on Wellness Wednesday.
Paul Luisa is our X-ray and diagnostic machines, right?
Yung doctor was not doing anything about it.
Right.
Yeah, so
Wellness Wednesdays with Organic. We care because you matter.
hi, good afternoon, and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Oops. Ngayon ay holiday sa Cebu City for the 500-year celebration of Christianity dito sa Pilipinas. So, ang mga Cebuanos, I hope you're all enjoying your holiday. Now, before we get into this week's episode, which talks about anxiety and anxiety disorders, let's discuss today's game. So in the game today, we have here another Guess Who. So first of all, before I come a comment, please check out our Facebook page at Organic Inc. And if you comment, then you get a chance to win an Organic gift pack. Wala akong samples ngayon, pero ang Organic gift pack will include either acai choco or acai coffee, and then yung blister pack natin, yung acai freeze-dried capsules. So ang Guess Who is a 49-year-old actress who's best known for cult films like Reality Bites and is now starring in Netflix's critically acclaimed sci-fi thriller Stranger Things. And she returned to Hollywood after a near decade-long hiatus. Outside her filmography, she is also lauded for her honesty regarding her struggles with depression. So I think this is a very, very good Guess Who for our Mental Health Wellness Wednesday. So, so please comment your guesses either below or as a post. This post, this post there, this post. Okay. So I also wanted to announce that yung Organic team namin was able to deliver to. Can we make the screen bigger? So our Organic team was able to deliver our Immuno Strong PH packages to the Department of Health and the Philippine Society of Medical Oncology, as well as, again, the Department of Health and the College of Public Health in UP Manila, and St. Luke's Medical Center in Quezon City. So yung donations namin is really to support the frontliners and help boost their immunity, especially during this time of pandemic. Kasi alam mo that the pandemic is not over yet, no? My third wave pa. So for everyone who still needs that boost in immunity and who's still facing the crisis head on, my support for their immune systems. So I know we've been talking about this pandemic, yung virus, immunity, but we also have to talk about not just physical health, but mental health. I know na may mga experiences ang ibang tao, for example, like they were saying that sa pandemic ngayon, kasi lockdown, a lot of people are going through a lot of mental health struggles. So hindi naman siya COVID-19 pandemic alone, pero mental health pandemic also. And we have to discuss this. So today we have here our resource speaker, si Miss Kiana. So Miss Kiana is actually a psychometrician and she is a master's candidate. So Miss Kiana, I would like to introduce you right now so that you can tell us more about your background and experience.
Okay. Hi, Luisa. Good afternoon. And also good afternoon to all the viewers and our Organic page. Hello, hello po. Ayan.
Hi, Kiana. So what is a psychometrician for those of us who don't know?
Okay. So the profession of psychometry or being a psychometrician is actually quite new. Kasi I was actually the second batch of those psychometricians who took the board exam. So psychometricians are these, yes. So psychometricians are these people who are allowed or licensed to conduct psychological assessments using objective tests. So yun pong mga sinasagutan natin when we are to be assessed psychologically. The most common, yung mga MBTI or the OCEAN. I don't know if most of us would be familiar with that. Yun po ang aming ginagawa. So we assess people using psychological assessment methods. Yun.
Okay. So, Miss Kiana, my experience about dealing with anxiety or assessing it in your work or maybe even personal.
Yes, okay. So currently, Luisa, I'm affiliated with a center here in Bulacan. So it's called the Wayside Psych Resource Center. So we're handling different cases of psychological disorders. Yon. At the same time, before being in my current affiliation, which is UST, I'm also teaching there. I've been a guidance staff in a school in Cubao called a school in Cubao. So in the guidance center, of course, doon natin ma-experience the different kinds of children, adolescents with different issues, including the parents and even our coworkers. So we've been together with the psychological disorders and instances since anong year ba? 2016. So we've been handling people panicking, people with anxiety disorders, with normal anxiety. So for already 5 years now.
Right. So, Doc, I know a lot of people. Sorry, not Doc. I'm so used to saying Doc, no. So Miss
Sige lang
Kiana,
po.
I know a lot of people. You know, it's very in colloquial terms. You really say like, "Oh yeah, I feel anxiety. I feel anxious over this." But what is really anxiety in terms of psychology?
Okay. As of now,
Yeah.
the term anxiety is very common, as you mentioned. Totoo po yan.
Mhm.
Especially dahil pag during the pandemic, ano ba ang pinagkakaabalahan ng tao? Facebook, Instagram,
Mhm.
Twitter,
Mhm.
yan. And then, every now and then, laging name-mention yan. Anxiety, I am panicking, I am depressed, ayan. But then, of course, in our discipline, it's quite sad because anxiety is something that is normal. Diba? It is something being experienced by everybody. In professional
Mhm.
terms, when we talk about anxiety, it is a feeling, it is an experience by people. Ito po ay nararamdaman natin if there is an impending danger. Okay? Kapag meron tayong naiisip, nakikita na tayo ay mapapahamak, we feel anxiety. We feel the anxiety. We feel anxious. So if we will look into anxiety in that way, makikita natin na it is something that is helpful. 'Di ba? Kapag tayo ay kunyari, nakasakay sa sasakyan, tapos biglang pumreno si Manong Chuper, kinabahan ka ng very, very light, you feel anxious. Why?
Mhm.
Because there is an impending danger. So anxiety is actually healthy. But then, we are using it nowadays in a different perspective. Though true, totoo naman that because there is an impending danger of the pandemic, anxiety is normal. Okay? Mas abnormal pa siguro kung hindi ka matatakot sa COVID kasi nakikita natin yung dami ng tao na nagkakasakit, namamatay, minsan kapitbahay, kabarangay, yung kausap mo kahapon naka-confine na. So, that is anxiety. And that is normal anxiety. Okay. And then a while ago, we also mentioned panic, no? So, yung panic
Mhm.
naman, okay, to relay the information to our viewers ngayon, ang pinagkaiba po ng anxiety and panic is the occurrence of the feeling. Okay po? Pag sinabi
Mm.
natin kasing anxiety, okay, it happens before the danger. Yan, nakita mo that there is a danger, you feel anxious. Okay. When we talk about panic, okay, it is also a normal reaction if the danger is already there. Halimbawa, ngayon, of course, most of us are working at home. We are all using Zoom, we are using Google Meet, and then during the meeting, here comes your internet connection na wala. So what do you feel? You feel panicky. Yun. Kasi nangyari na siya. Is it normal? Yes. Okay. Do you have a disorder? No. It's a normal reaction that we feel anxiety and at the same time,
Mhm.
we feel panic. Yun. Ganun po siya.
Right. Oh, okay, Miss Kiana. So if those are the normal reactions, no, what are like some, I wouldn't say abnormal, but not normal or disorders then regarding that? When is it something that you guys assess?
Okay. So we mentioned that these experiences are already considered disorders using a diagnosis
Mhm.
checklist. Okay. There is a diagnosis criteria, diagnostic criteria. Okay. Sometimes, okay, the funny thing is, people tend to read these diagnostic criteria and we do self-diagnosis. Aminin natin na
Yes.
kahit ako, before I
Yes.
study psych, nagtitingin talaga ako sa internet minsan nga kahit nga COVID, 'di ba? Self-diagnosis tayo, inubo ka, may COVID ka na. Pero
Yes.
well in terms of psychological disorders and anxiety disorders, normal sila. And we consider them disorders if there is already significant impairment in your daily functioning. Okay? So if that anxiety and panic of yours ay pinahihirapan ka na hindi mo na nagagawa yung lagi mong ginagawa, that may be considered a disorder. And at the same time, when we talk about anxiety disorders, hindi lang siya nangyari kanina, nangyari kahapon. It happened in a span of time that you have observed that it is recurring. Okay? Disorders are recurring. It might not happen every other day, but it is recurring. Kaya nga, when we talk about anxiety disorders, there are more or less 5 to 6 criteria for it to be considered disorder. Kaya wag natin, ayun, so it's, maybe this is already a warning to our viewers, no? Don't get anxious about being anxious, okay? Be happy that you're anxious because it means tao ka pa, okay? Buhay ka pa. You're still feeling something. If you can still eat, you can still talk to your friends, you're still here watching this video, you're still understanding what I am saying, then you're still okay. Baka kaya ka nandito is because you wanted to understand what is this. And during our session today, Luisa, no, I think it would also be good for us na rather than diagnosing yourself, it's also good to understand na baka naman it's just a normal reaction of you. So we look into that optimistic side of point of view. So just to answer again the question, it's a disorder when it's already impairing. It's already impairing your daily functioning. Nahihirapan ka nang gawin yung trabaho mo, pag-aalaga sa sarili mo, and at the same time, recurrent. Paulit-ulit po siyang nangyayari. Yon.
Para siyang pain, no? Like, we experience pain on a daily life, pero it doesn't mean na may sakit tayo, no? Unless it's really impairing daily life. For example, you broke a leg and it's always painful, or you have a chronic illness, like for example cancer, and it's always painful. So hindi naman siya meaning na are you feeling anxious, are you feeling panic, na may disorder ka. So for that, before I guess we were just talking about disorders. Ano ba yung types of disorders?
Okay, for psychological disorders, meron kasi tayong dalawang basis right now, okay? So, we have this DSM-5 and DSM-4 from the American Psychological Association. And then, when we talk about anxiety disorders, okay, hindi siya isang sakit, okay? Hindi lang siya isa, okay? Kumbaga, it's an umbrella term. It's an umbrella term that is, sabihin natin, tinutuhog niya yung iba't ibang klase ng anxiety disorder. So kapag ngayon, kunyari, ikaw ay nasabihan na or you were diagnosed that you have anxiety disorder, okay, tanungin natin, anong klase? Okay? Para mas malaman natin at mas maintindihan natin sila. If we will be basing the names of these, kung babasa natin siya sa DSM-5, madami siya. Kasi ang bawat disorder ay meron din silang tinatawag na specifier. Kunyari, katulad ng the term projected here, generalized anxiety disorder, there are different kinds of these depending on the specifier. Do we have panic attacks? Do you have agoraphobia? Pero the major terms, we actually have 6. Okay? Meron tayong 6 na pagkikwentuhan ngayong hapon na klase ng anxiety disorders. And just to give them an overview, we have generalized anxiety disorder. We also have panic disorder, okay? We have specific phobias. So just to let everybody know, phobia is a kind of a psychological disorder. Okay? We also have agoraphobia, social anxiety disorder, at meron tayong tinatawag na separation anxiety disorder. So akala natin ang sepangs dati ay pag lang umalis ang iyong loved ones, that's sepangs. But now, we would know that there's actually disorder about it. Ayon.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we started the first one. No, ano ba yung general anxiety disorder?
Okay. When we say generalized anxiety disorder, it is an anxiety disorder kung saan one of the pinaka-evident niyang symptom ay having panic attacks or having excessive anxiety. Okay? So when we say excessive anxiety, okay, just para ma-clarify natin, no, hindi ibig sabihin ng excessive anxiety na naisip mo siya ngayon, naisip mo ulit, naisip mo ulit, naisip mo ulit. Excessive anxiety is based on your regular anxiety. Okay? Kung dati naman, hindi ka naman talaga ma-worry. Okay? Hindi ka naman talaga dati ma-worry. But then recently, for the past 6 months, okay, for the past 6 months, parang every day, kakain ka lang, meron kang certain kaba. Okay? That could probably mean that you have a generalized anxiety disorder. There's actually several things to be considered. Number one, generalized anxiety disorder lasts for more than 6 months. Okay? Hindi lang 1 month, okay? More than 6 months. Secondly, you find it difficult to control the worry. Kasi 'di ba tayo, pag tayo ay wala namang disorder, kapag tayo ay kinakabahan, pwede na sa atin yung all is well. Yon, okay na tayo doon sa kaya mo yan, pwede yan, okay, nandito ako. But these people who are diagnosed, hindi ganon, okay? Minsan, 10 tao na yung nagtatap sa'yo na okay lang yan, it's still not improving. Okay? And then, there are also symptoms that might be present. Okay? There are actually 6, but we're only required to have 3. Okay, meron siyang 6 pero we're only required to have 3. So one of these would be restlessness. Okay, when we say restlessness, di mapakali. Ayan, di ka mapakali pero wala ka namang kinatatakutan. Madaling mapagod. That's the second one. Mabilis mapagod. Number 3, you have difficulty in concentrating. Okay, dati nakakanood ka naman ng Netflix for 30 minutes, minsan 1 hour. Ngayon, intro pa lang, kinabahan ka na. Ayan. The next, irritability. It's very evident. Yung mga kasamahan natin na biglang naiinis. Kumbaga, para siyang girl na malapit nang magkaroon ng period. So that is also one of the symptoms. Next, muscle tension. When we say muscle tension, there are instances na yung ano ba yun? Na yung nagsistiff yung kamay, or there are certain parts of the body na tumitigas, hindi mo siya maggalaw ng maayos. And another is sleep disturbance. Hindi makatulog. Okay? Kahit antok ka na paghiga mo, wala pa din. There are 6 actually, but you only require 3 to qualify. Yon. So ibig sabihin, sige dear.
No. So, sorry, go ahead.
Sige po. Yon. And then, lastly siguro, these symptoms and the prevalence of these symptoms to you, dapat wala kang ibang sakit. Kasi 'di ba kunyari, meron kang sakit sa puso, minsan meron silang symptoms like that. So kailangan before we diagnose ourselves with GAD, dapat sure ka na that there is no medical condition. Yan, sige po. Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. Sorry, Miss Kiana, thank you. Pero how about, for example, yung lockdown dito sa Pilipinas is already 1 year, diba? And then I'm sure that many people are feeling very different from before the lockdown started. So would you say, Miss Kiana, na may anxiety disorder sila? Like, for example, because it's been more than 6 months and they're feeling this, or hindi naman kasi, it's abnormal circumstances and when everything opens again, they'll be back to normal.
Okay. So, currently, Luisa, we have a term called COVID anxiety. O, diba? Ang bilis. Kakaroon lang ng anxiety ng COVID last year, meron ng COVID anxiety. So, COVID anxiety ngayon, it's quite synonymous to the symptoms that we have discussed. But, since there is no disorder in the term, okay, it's normal. Ibig sabihin, tayo pong mga Pilipino na sama-samang na-quarantine, ay meron tayong mga ganitong simptomas. But if you will notice, just like, of course, all of us, nagkaroon ng pandemic ng March. Okay, March last year. March, April, May, June. Ayan, sabihin natin na 6 months. Okay. Most of us, alam natin that forming a habit is just 21 days. Pero hindi natin kayang maging okay in 21 days. Usual people, okay, normal people like us without disorders would be able to adapt. Okay, that's one of our characteristics. Makaka-adjust tayo in a short
Okay.
period of time. Okay? So minsan, it would take you 4 months. It would take you 5 months. Some of us would take just 3 weeks to adjust. Kaya nga yung iba, di ba, during pandemic, work from home. Work from home pa din. Kaya pa din magtrabaho. But the others, because they don't have jobs, the anxiety is still there. Yon. Another thing pala, when we talk about generalized anxiety disorder, there are instances that our anxiety is not rooted, okay, from any reason. Pwede siyang ganon. Okay? Kaya right now, when we are having that COVID anxiety, it is valid for us to be anxious kasi there is COVID. Okay? But when you have GAD, may pandemic, walang pandemic, meron kang worry. Okay. Though later on we will talk about the different risk factors of anxiety disorders. Merong mga tao na previously wala naman. But because of the pandemic, it was triggered and nagkaroon sila. Yun. Siguro, just to answer the question, no, kapag tayo ay wag natin i-diagnose agad ng GAD. Okay. Isipin muna natin if ano ba yung ikinaka-anxious ko. But again, if you're already impaired and you na-observe mo na di naman ganito yung family members ko, yung mga katrabaho ko okay naman sila, pero bakit ako hindi? So maybe that's the time for you to already consult or read something credible and reliable about the disorder. Yon.
Okay. I think that's very helpful, Doc, especially, in the comment section. Because lots of people have been feeling anxiety nowadays, especially sa COVID. So, knowing that my COVID-19 anxiety, it doesn't mean my generalized anxiety disorder na tayo, no?
Yes.
Unless alam na that before the pandemic, we were already feeling this way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or sometimes,
so,
the others naman are triggered. Alam mo yun, yung na-trigger ka. 1 taon na yung pandemic, pero hindi pa rin nawawala hindi ka pa rin nakaka-adjust. Okay lang yung may anxiety, pero yung takot mo, hindi nabawasan. So, pwede yun. It could be considered as a warning sign. It could be a red flag for developing the disorder. Yan.
Okay. Okay. So, it's possible, Ms. Kiana, to develop the disorder.
Yes.
Not just COVID-19 anxiety, but to develop GAD.
Yes.
Okay. And then I think so. And then that's something that you visit a psychometrician to assess, no?
Yes, you can visit, for example, a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or minsan po, just to let you know, no, there are some LGU sa mga barangay, sa mga munisipyo. Meron tayong mga resident psychologists or counselors, not the kagawad ha, not counselor kagawad, like licensed guidance counselors. They do not just exist in the schools, even in the LGUs, meron tayo nun. And syempre, hindi natin siya alam, hindi tayo nakakapag-consult. But now, at least alam na natin. Let's call on the mayors. Hello, mayor. May counselor po ba tayo? I need clarification about this. Ayun po.
Okay. Thank you. And then how about panic disorder? Kasi I know you mentioned that with GAD you feel panic. So what's the difference between, panic disorder and then GAD?
Okay. When we talk about GAD, the prominent symptom there is the excessive anxiety. Okay, the excessive anxiety.
Okay.
When we talk about panic disorder, the prominent, the prominent symptom that you have here is panic attacks. Okay, so we have panic attacks. Ngayon, let's first differentiate siguro, Ms. Luisa, no, what's panic attack and panic disorder. Same thing with anxiety. There's anxiety and anxiety disorder. There is panic attacks and there is panic disorder. Okay? When we say we're having panic attacks, it's not necessarily a disorder. Okay? There are many instances that we could have panic attacks. Okay? Halimbawa, just for my personal experience, okay? Siguro, sabi ko nga, when I was invited here, sabi ko, maybe the reason kung ba't ako nag-panic attack dati, para masabi ko dito. Para makita nila na, ay, ganito pala yung nangyari sa panic attack. Pwede palang maging normal after the panic attack. So when I was in college, I had several instances of panic attacks because I was I was studying in Manila, and then I'm here and I'm residing in Bulacan. Then the travel is very stressful. Alam naman
Yeah.
natin, nung pandemic, ang isang jeep na ang laman ay 12-12. Kahit 20 kayo, dadaan kayo ng NLEX. And I'm very, natatakot ako sa ganon. And natatakot ako dun sa baka mawalan ako ng hininga, something like that. So there were instances na I am in a jeepney, and then magtitigas yung kamay ko, mahirapan akong huminga, and then dahil wala akong kasama, I would tap my seatmate, kung sino man, babae, lalaki, kahit mukha siyang nakakatakot. Ate, hindi ako makahinga. So when I am brought to the hospital, ang diagnosis is panic attack. Okay, so it may happen. Okay, panic attack may happen in various situations. Most of the time, panic attacks happen when there is a triggering situation. Okay, meron kang kinatatakutan, okay? Minsan natatakot ka na mag-panic attack. Meron tayong ganun. If you experience it once, natatakot ka na pag nahirapan kang huminga, hala na, magkakaroon na ako ng panic attack. So that could be one of the reasons. The others naman, it could also be caused by a certain situation na nangyari na sa'yo before. Halimbawa, you were nakasakay ka sa isang jeep na merong holdapan, and you were able to associate na every time nakasakay ako ng jeep may holdapan. Wala namang holdapan, pero natatakot ka, and here now comes panic attack na nangyayari sa'yo. Okay? So panic attack, hindi naman natin sasabihin na it's very normal, because it's still unusual for people to have panic attacks, no? But then, panic attacks happen because of a certain reason. Okay? Meron siyang reason. Meron siyang pinagmulan. Okay? When we talk about panic disorder, okay, so dun na tayo ngayon sa disorder. When we talk about panic disorder, there is now a recurrent, unexpected panic attacks. Sabi natin kanina, panic attacks happen because of a triggering situation. But when we talk about panic disorder, paulit-ulit. At kahit wala na yung triggering entity, nagkakaroon ka ng panic attacks. That is happening for at least 1 month. So mas maikli siya. At least 1 month, it is happening. And the reason that you're thinking about it is baka kasi magka-panic attack ka pa. Yon. So that is what we call panic disorders. Yun po.
So, Miss Kiana, when you say 1 month, how often, for example, is it like, kasi, if you have 4 in 1 month, it would make sense na, baka may something wrong, no? I can go see someone. But if you have 1 in 1 month, and then you have another one the next month, or something like that, does that mean I have to go see someone, or it's just one-off kind of thing?
Okay. So with the recurrence, within 1 month, siguro 2 would be quite bothersome. Lalo na pag hindi ka naman nagkaka-panic attack, diba? 2 would be bothersome. Pero just like the question, paano nga kung 1 ngayon, 1 next month, tapos 1 next month? So that is another way of saying na recurrent siya. But then again, babalik tayo dun sa, meron ka bang medical condition? Yon. Kapag wala ka namang medical condition, and it happened as often as that, every month, or sabihin na natin na twice that month, or 3 times that month, it's already time for you to seek for consultation. Usually, Miss Luisa, for example, in the school setting or in the LGUs, kapag meron ganitong instances, we first send them to a medical doctor. Okay. Bakit po? Bakit po sa doktor muna? Kasi, kailangan muna nating malaman if the origin of that disorder ay psychological ba. Kasi kaya siya tinawag na psychological disorder is because it is rooted from your psychology, your psyche. Yon. Kaya una, medical doctor muna. And then afterwards, pag sinabi niya na, wala talaga ma'am, wala talaga sir, you're okay, your BP is okay, wala kang sakit sa thyroid or anywhere, maybe they would also refer us na, have yourself checked by a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So, yon. So, ayun nga, if there's panic attack, basta wala siyang medical condition, it's already a red flag. Okay? It rings a bell na, wait, maybe I have to be checked. Yon.
So, Miss Kiana, my question here from
Okay po.
Danica Del Val. Uh, she says, "Hello, Miss Kiana. Ano bang age ang masasabi nating mas prone sa anxiety disorder?"
Okay po. So thank you for the question, Danica. When we talk about the prevalence or the ng anxiety disorders, panic disorders, most of the
Mhm.
time it happens or it starts during adolescence. Okay? It usually happens during
Mm.
adolescence. And marami ang may panic attack, ang may panic disorders and anxiety disorders during adolescence. Why? What's the reason behind that? Number one, this is the period in their lives that they already have their innate anxiety. Meron na kasi. 'Di ba?
Mm.
The transition from childhood to adulthood is the period of adolescence. Naguguluhan ka pa, bata ba ako? Matanda ba ako? There's already anxiety there. And other than that, ang
Mm.
dami pa nilang sources of anxiety. Here comes their, meron na silang idea na they have to establish their identity. So, ang daming anxiety. Okay. But then, anxiety disorders can start as early as childhood. Okay? Though it's
Ah.
not always, pero it may start ng childhood. And it can also start kahit matanda ka na. Minsan 40 ka na, saka ka palang magkakaroon ng anxiety disorders. It is as broad as that. Kasi depende yan kung anong situation yung pinanggalingan mo or something like that. But then, kung anong edad usually siya nangyayari, it's in the adolescent stage. Kaya nga if ever siguro that there are parents here watching, or adolescents here watching, please do check on your adolescents, on the young people. Kasi alam natin, they do not talk usually. I'm currently teaching in the senior high school, and it's really very difficult to draw out information from them. It takes courage, talent, research, para lang makuha mo sa kanila yon. So, ayun, if there are parents here, please do check up on them.
Okay. So we have another question, Miss Kiana, from Gian Valentona, who says, "Hi, Kiana and Luisa. Can you explain more on how triggers work and how we can process something that triggers us?"
Okay. So when we talk about triggers, kasi po, yung kasing we talk about anxiety disorders, no? When we have anxiety, it's very specific. And it's, makikita natin siya. Because usually, it is rooted from a certain experience. Katulad nga nung kwento ko kanina, my anxiety during that time, I was college by that time, my anxiety is rooted from a jeepney. So, that is triggering. Pero, hindi kasi siya laging jeepney. Okay? There are associations that we have. Halimbawa, takot ako sa jeepney, pero sumakay ako sa isang van. Okay? It is a van. Okay? And then that van is also enclosed. So, most probably, that could be a trigger. Or another, in a jeepney. Bakit ako natakot nun? Kasi magkakatabi kami eh. Magkakatabi kami na ang dami-dami namin. So, if I go on an open place, but there are many people, that could be a trigger. Another, pwede ko din, in my case, there was an instance na I rode the jeepney and there was a certain smell. And I know that certain smell. Alam ko yung brand ng pabango na yon. And every time na nasa-smell ko siya, it already triggers the anxiety within me. So, if we would be talking about the different triggers, number one, know the origin. Ano po ba yung nakakapagpa-anxious sa inyo? Secondly, ano po yung mga associated doon sa event na yon? Ano yung mga associated or related images or pictures na nakikita mo? And how are we going to manage that? Okay, doon tayo sa mabilis lang na how to manage that. It's not always that we can avoid them. Okay, it's not always that we can avoid them. Breathing exercises would be helpful. But I also have this principle in me. You know, the brain is very powerful. Aminin natin na kahit you're very anxious, mahirap man at very cliche man siyang sabihin, make your mind at peace. Okay? Ano mo siya, maniwala ka dun sa idea na, kunyari, nagpa-panic attack or you're currently anxious. Set standards. Kiana, 30 minutes na lang nasa exit ka na. Okay? Set standards like that.
Mm.
Kiana, paabutin mo yung sarili mo. Talk to yourself. That's okay because that's the power of your mind. Okay po? Anxiety is rooted from the mental creations. Okay? From the psychological creations. So if it is created in that way, there is a possibility that you can also destroy it that way. Yun po.
Okay, very very good logic there. So, last question na about panic attacks. So, mas prone po ba ang babae or ang lalaki sa panic attack? Thank you,
Okay.
Maureen, for your question.
Okay. Yon, thank you for the question. Number 1, mas emotional ang babae. But the thing is, mas expressive ang babae. If we look into the prevalence of panic attacks, it would tell you, mas marami po ang babae. But in reality, tingnan natin tong reality na to. Ang lalaki, kapag yan, may masakit sa katawan, hindi yan magsasalita, okay lang ako, pero dumudugo na yung likod, di ba? Those are gentlemen. That is their nature. Ang babae, natusok lang yan ng toothpick, iiyak na yan, Band-Aid please, Band-Aid please. And that's our nature. Kaya mas madaming nadadiagnose na babae with panic attacks. Okay? And at the same time, these disorders have their biological root. Meron siyang physiological root. At alam naman natin that ladies, that women, we have more hormonal imbalances compared to gentlemen. Kasi we are having our periods. Basta, mas iba yung physique natin. So, we are more prone.
Yung menstrual cycle.
Yes, sobra. Doon nagalit. Because of the menstrual cycle. Pero ayun, madami kasing nature ang babae. Kaya siya nagkakaganon. Okay? So just to answer, are they more prone? Both are prone. Both are prone. Okay? Mas nadadiagnose lang ang mga babae compared sa lalaki because men has their identity na, ay, wala, takot lang to. Yon. So for the gentlemen, it's a calling. Hello, hello. It's you need us. You need help. If you're feeling something like this, don't hesitate to call for help.
Okay. So, Ms. Kiana, what about kanina you mentioned about the specific phobias? No, I thought we were talking about general. Now we go into the specifics.
Okay. So when we talk about specific phobias, Ms. Luisa, no, it's madali natin siyang mauunawaan. But phobia is different from fear. Okay? Phobia is different from fear. Doon na naman tayo sa may comparison na naman tayo. When we talk about fear, okay, meron kasing existence of an actual fearful thing. Halimbawa, I have fear of dogs. Okay, I have fear of dogs. I have fear of dogs because nakagat ako ng aso. That's fear. When we talk about phobia, okay, when we talk about phobia, it is an irrational fear. Okay? Irrational fear. Bakit ka takot sa dilim? Hindi ko rin alam. Okay? Bakit ka takot sa aso? Pero ang cute-cute naman siya. Shih Tzu lang yung hawak ko. Hindi ko rin alam. That is because, kaya siya naging disorder is because it is something irrational compared to the usual fears. And to talk about more about specific phobias, no, there are different kinds of these phobias. Okay, meron tayong tinatawag na naturalistic or environmentalistic na phobias, which is found sa surroundings natin, katulad ng yun nga, spiders, yan, we have dogs, or minsan there are people who are takot sa trees. There are even people takot sa tubig, di ba? So there are instances like that. Meron din namang mga phobia na tao ang kinakatakutan, or meron naman na iba na situation ang kinakatakutan. There are people na takot sa birthday, takot sa party, takot sa mga praise and worship, and something like that.
Right. So, Miss Kiana, what about kasi I know people, like, when it comes to anxiety, may specific phobias that you were speaking of. For example, agoraphobia. What is agoraphobia?
Okay. When we talk about agoraphobia, this is actually a different diagnosis with specific phobia. Magkaiba sila. Okay? They are different. So what makes agoraphobia different from specific phobia? Agoraphobia before, okay, mga years ago, hindi siya actually disorder. Okay? Dati, isa lang siyang symptom. Isa lang siyang symptom. Kumbaga, kunyari, meron kang, ano ba sabihin natin? Kung meron kang, say, COVID na lang ulit. Okay? Di ba sa COVID, one of the symptoms of COVID is nilalagnat. Okay? Agoraphobia before is just like lagnat. But now, it is already a disorder. Bakit po? Because agoraphobia, just to define it is the excessive fear of being in closed spaces or in being in an area na mahirap ang escape. Okay, so yun eh. The area wherein escape is difficult or hindi mo alam, hindi ka sure kung paano ka makaka-escape. And then agoraphobia happens, okay, it is diagnosed to those people, sabihin na natin na naka-experience na kasi before. Okay, naka-experience na kasi before of difficulty of going out to from a certain place. Yon. So pag pinag-usapan natin si agoraphobia, dati lagi siyang kasama ng panic disorder, ng panic attacks, okay? Kasi dati when you have panic attacks, okay, when you have panic attacks, it happened in places that are enclosed. And then, together with that, is, syempre, dahil you're having your panic attacks, natatakot ka na ma-judge ka ng ibang tao. Yon. So, when we talk about agoraphobia and panic disorders, you're already afraid na pag nagka-panic attack ako, they would label me as, ay, weak to. No? Ay, kadiri yung itsura niya.
Okay.
Kasi there are some people who are having panic attacks na nagsusuka, or di ba kapag alam naman natin, pag ikaw nag-hyperventilate ka na, wala ka nang pakialam kung anong itsura mo. So, sometimes agoraphobia happens if you have that kind of thinking. Yon.
Right. Okay. So, hindi ba siya social anxiety disorder where you're thinking about what other people say?
Social anxiety disorder would be a different thing as well. O, diba? Ang dami nila. Yung difference nila, it's just a thin line. Okay? It's just a thin line. Okay. When we talk about social anxiety disorder, si agoraphobia kasi, ang fear niya ay yung baka kasi siya ay mapahiya in a public situation. When we talk about social anxiety disorders, there are many things that could cause that. Okay? Marami siyang pwedeng maging root. Okay? Pag sinabi nating social anxiety disorders, natatakot ka sa social situations, probably because of the following reasons. Number one, baka kasi you would not meet their standards. Maaaring ganon. Okay? Maaari din na natatakot ka because there is a certain person that you are avoiding. Kahit nasa Amerika siya at nasa Pilipinas ka, you could think na nandun siya. Okay? Baka kasi makita ka niya. Okay? Or probably, it might not be your experience, but we have this concept called social learning. Okay, social learning. Hindi ka naman nagkaroon ng humiliating experience, but because you have seen a person which is humiliated, okay, napahiya siya dahil dun sa isang ganap niya, okay, natakot ka na rin. And most of the time, this happens in social situations such as public speaking, meeting new friends. Yan, it happens because of that. Natatakot ka kasi in different reasons. Yon.
So this isn't the same as shyness naman.
Yes, because shyness is something normal. Yon.
Okay. So at what point, Miss Kiana, do I go see someone for social anxiety versus I know I'm shy?
Okay. Yung shy kasi, okay, ang cute lang talaga ng shy people. Shy people kasi, they do not experience symptoms. Okay? They do not experience symptoms.
Okay.
Si social anxiety disorder, ito yung mga nakikita natin na mga estudyante siguro, most of the time students, magre-report in front, hinimatay. Okay. When you're shy, you would still pursue kasi. Tutuloy ka pa din, but then meron nga lang silang characteristics na mahina yung boses, maliit yung galaw, but still, gagawin pa rin nila yung dapat nilang gawin. But with social anxiety disorder, wala kang magagawa. Ayun. Wala kang nagawa, hinimatay ka pa or nagkaroon ka pa ng symptoms. Sabi nga natin kanina, these disorders have their diagnostic criteria. Hindi porket hinimatay ka ng isang beses or hindi porket ikaw ay nahihiya sa maraming tao, ay meron ka na nitong disorder na to. Marami pa tayong dapat tingnan sa mga nangyari sa buhay mo to say that you actually have a disorder.
Okay. And then what about the last one, yung SEPANCS, separation anxiety disorder?
Okay. So the separation anxiety disorder, this is new. Okay? This is not in
Okay.
DSM-4. Okay? This is actually in DSM-5. So pag pinag-usapan natin si separation anxiety disorder, most of the time, it is, na-visualize natin siya for children. Okay? Sa mga maliliit na bata. Nakikita natin na pag umalis yung parents, they would be very anxious. But again, when we talk about separation anxiety disorder, there is a prevalence. Okay? And it happens not only because of a separation from one person, but it could be anxiety from a separation from different people. And most of the time, this person is a primary carer. Okay? This might be for children, or this might be for adults. It could also happen in adults. Sa bata, di ba akala natin before, ang bata, pag umalis ang nanay, iiyak, maglalaro ulit. Sinasabi natin, may sepangs yung bata, okay, may sepangs yung bata, umalis yung nanay, nagtantrums yung bata, nagtantrums hanggat hindi umuwi yung nanay. Okay. But when we talk about separation anxiety disorder, it's more than that. Number one, there are the symptoms. Number two, other than the nanay, meron pang ibang tao na pwedeng ma-associate ng bata sa nanay. Umalis yung nanay, nagtantrums ang bata. Umalis yung tatay, nagtantrums yung bata. Umalis yung lola, pati yung yaya, nagtantrums yung bata. Okay. In children, ang dali. Sa matanda, paano magtantrums ang bata? Ang matanda. So for old age naman, for adults like us, it may happen in different symptoms. There are other manifestations. Halimbawa, the reason why it is in anxiety disorder, alam mo yon yung feeling na pag umalis kang kamag-anak, papuntang abroad, tapos naiiyak ka, tapos nahihirapan kang huminga. Yon, that is normal separation anxiety. But then again, in disorder, there's a prolonged effect of this separation from that person. Kahit nga sa boyfriend, 'di ba? Minsan some of the people na na-encounter ko before, the separation anxiety is with the boyfriend, with the girlfriend, sometimes with the best friend. Okay? Depende yan sa quality of the relationship that you have with the person.
Okay. So, again, those are really the disorders versus yung normal. So, I know we've tackled the disorders, pero ano ba yung causes, and at the same time, risk factors? What are things that I should be avoiding or be aware of so I do not develop, no? Or so that if my a tao na, close to me, like my child, how do I take care of them in that sense?
Okay. So, dun tayo sa causes. Okay. Number one, I would always tell this to my students. Every human being is a biopsychosocial being. Biopsychosocial being. So, everything that is happening to us has its biological, psychological, and social causes. So, first, according to what is projected here, of course, in front of us, genetics. There are people who are more predisposed. Meron pong mga tao na sila yung mas magkakaroon ng ganitong disorder. Bakit po? There are studies na pinapakita nila sa MRI na mas hyperactive. Okay, hyperactive ang isang parte ng utak natin na tinatawag po nating amygdala. Ito po ay tinatawag natin na seat of our emotions. So genetically, there might be some people na itong parte ng utak na ito ay hyperactive. So dahil hyperactive yun, wala pa man ding nangyayari sa'yo, you already have this tendency, the predisposition to develop this anxiety disorders. Okay? We also have here the brain chemistry. When we talk about brain chemistry, it's all about the hormones. Okay? Meron po kasing mga tao katulad, I'm not in place to tell this, but for example, for us ladies, of course, we know the concept of PCOS. There are some people na dahil meron tayong PCOS, there's a emotional imbalance for those ladies as well who are taking pills. This could be a trigger. Okay? This could be a trigger that for you to develop. Pero again, when we have anxiety disorder, so ulitin ko nga po, it must not be accounted by any other medical conditions. But then brain chemistry, imbalances in the hormones can also be a cause of the panic disorder. And of course, if there's too much hormones or something like that, eventually it may already cause brain damage. Or hindi naman totally brain damage, but then different wirings in the brain. Next, we also have environmental stress. Siguro dito din natin, Miss Luisa, maipapasok yung childhood experiences. Okay? I was able to encounter a certain article yesterday na parang sinasabi nila na ang mga bata daw, later on with the risk factors, no, ang mga bata daw that were abused when they were children or that were bullied when they were children ay mas prone sa anxiety disorder. Of course, it's just a logic sa atin na na-experience na niya kasi yun noon, natuto yung bata, at ngayon ayaw niyang mangyari yun. At ang nangyari, nakadevelop ngayon siya ng anxiety disorders. Okay. Next, drug withdrawal or misuse. Okay. Drug withdrawal, ito po yung sinasabi natin na, sabihin natin na hindi gumagamit ka before, and then you stop taking a certain drug, and then there are following symptoms or consequences because of that withdrawal. Okay. Meron kasi tayong tinatawag ngayon na substance-induced. Merong mga disorders that are substance-induced. So this time, pwede siyang substance-induced or an effect of withdrawal. Sabihin na natin, kunyari, dati nagsusmoke ka. O, yun na lang, wag na drugs, smoking na lang. You were smoking before, and then nalaman mo na hindi pala siya maganda sa'yo, tinigil mo ang paninigarilyo, hindi ka na naninigarilyo. Ngayon, naniniwala ka that smoking makes you calm. Eh, dahil wala ka ng sigarilyo, feeling mo, hindi ka na calm. So, here now comes panic attacks na pag hindi mo naalagaan, hindi mo na-address agad, may develop into panic disorders. And of course, medical conditions may cause panic attacks, but of course, we do not use it. Itatanggalin natin si medical conditions, gagawin kailangan eliminated siya because these are psychological disorders with psychological roots. Yan po.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, how about yung risk factors? Sorry, if na-discuss na yung risk factors, my internet cut off for a bit.
Okay lang po. Okay. So when we talk about naman the risk factors, okay, ang tanong dito ay, sino-sino? Sino po yung mga maaaring magka-develop nito, Miss Kiana, no? Sino po yung mga kamag-anak namin na maaaring magkaroon nito? Number one, syempre, those who already have mental health history. Okay? Kahit sabihin natin na ang nagkaroon ng mental health problem ay yung kanyang nanay, tatay, lolo, lola, that is still a history of mental health disorder. Hindi natin sinasabi that it is genetically nakuha ng bata, but probably it is the culture in the family. Baka hindi genes yung gumana. Baka it's the culture in the family that facilitated, that triggered the child or the person to have this disorder. Ayun nga, a while ago also, we mentioned sexual abuse. Okay? Next, trauma. Trauma. Though trauma is of course a different diagnosis as well, but then there are also traumatic instances that would not proceed to trauma but may develop to other kinds of disorders which includes anxiety disorders. Okay? Minsan kaya nga kapag may accidents or namatayan ng kamag-anak na mahal mo, I really do suggest wag kang magpakampante na wala kang trauma. Kasi baka hindi pa siya nagpapakita. Baka sa susunod mo pa siya makita. Okay? The diagnosis may not be trauma, but it may develop into other psychological disorders. Possible lang naman. But if you have, of course, good mental health, that's good. Okay? Next, negative life events. Even just, ito nga, with the school setting, in the family setting, please, let's develop a positive culture in the family. Yun pong simpleng pagsasabi nyo sa mga pamilya nyo, sa kapitbahay nyo, sa mga anak nyo na, for example, ang taba-taba mo, ayan. Pero araw-araw mong sinasabi yun sa kanya. That may already trigger something in them. Baka meron silang issue before na matrigger mo yun. Or o kaya naman merong iba na, alam mo yun, internal joke among friends na wala ka namang silbi sa grupo eh. Ganyan. So that is also labeled as a negative life event. Yon. So pwede din yon. Severe illnesses, dahil nga sabi natin, anxiety happens if there is an impending danger. And experiencing near-death experiences before could also be a cause or a risk factor for having an anxiety disorder. Substance abuse, especially if there's already withdrawal symptoms, being shy as a child. Sabi nga ni Miss Luisa kanina, what's the difference between being shy and with social anxiety disorder? Kapag itong shy na bata po na ito ay hindi natin naalagaan, naturuan ng maayos, well, maaari po siyang magkaroon nito. And of course, lastly, low self-esteem. Kasi pag low ang self-esteem mo, there is an idea on you na you are vulnerable to anything. Lahat ng sasabihin nila sa'yo, tatanggapin mo na lang at hindi mo na ipagtatanggol yung sarili mo. Which is a very big factor, a risk factor in developing anxiety disorders.
Okay. So, what about yung diagnosis and treatment? Let's just briefly go over yung diagnosis and treatment, and then paano yung coping and management mechanisms that would be good for us. Kasi wala nang time.
Okay.
So let's just quickly
Sige
go
po.
over it. Yeah.
Okay. So for the diagnosis and treatment, two ways, okay? Medication and psychotherapy. When we talk about medication, we go to medication to psychiatrists, okay? The term is psychiatrists, the medical doctors. We seek for their consultation for the prescription of drugs if the anxiety disorder is already endangering the life. There are already hallucinations, there are psychotic symptoms, there are tendencies to do suicide, go for medication. Even if it is mild, we don't suggest kasi to drink immediately medications. But again it's not over the counter. Ang atin pong psychological medications for psychological disorders are prescribed by the doctor. Yon. So, if it's still mild, later pag-uusapan natin kung ano yung mga pwede natin gawin if it is still mild. But if it is already severe, go to a psychiatrist. Psychotherapy, if we wanted to have psychotherapy, manageable pa, we go to a psychologist. Okay? We go to a psychologist and then let us be helped by these psychologists. Okay? So,
Right.
ngayon nga
Okay.
po, sige po.
No, okay lang. I just said okay. So
Sige.
what about in terms of yung coping mechanisms and then management? If we're not going for medication or therapy, what can we do at home?
Okay. So first and foremost, ayan, thank you for being here. For those who are watching, no? Number one, kasi you have to learn your disorder. Labeling and diagnosis is very important. How are you going to treat something if you don't know that you're sick? Huwag kang iinom ng pang-LBM kung ikaw ay may lagnat. Diba? So, learn about your disorder so you would know how to address it. Secondly, stick to your treatment plan. Sabi nga natin kanina, if you would be consulting a psychiatrist or a psychologist, wag mong dayain yung sarili mo. Kasi ito ay isang psychological disorder. This disorder or these events are actually hindi siya kasing controllable at hindi siya ganun ka-predictable as our physical body because it's the soul, it's the mind. Next, please, kung hindi nyo naman kailangan magkape, hindi nyo kailangan mag-chocolate, wag na. Okay po? Bukod sa nakakataba siya, nakakadagdag siya ng anxiety. Alam naman natin yon. Kaya tayo nagigising kasi grabe yung kabog ng dibdib natin. So, cut down caffeine, please. Soft drinks are also sources of caffeine. Wag na. Tubig na lang tayo. Okay? Next, don't use alcohol and recreational drugs. Of course, wag na munang mag-inuman. Dapat hindi tinanggal ang liquor ban. Okay? Kasi, syempre, being intoxicated with substances also has its effect on our body. Next, learn to relax. Okay? It is something mental. When we say learn to relax, don't take everything seriously. Meron tayong tinatawag na fight or flight response. During my discussion a while ago with my students, sabi ko sa kanila, my dear students, may mga laban na dapat lumaban at may mga laban na dapat sumuko ka na lang. Okay? Kapag may mga bagay na uncontrollable, just like the COVID-19, huwag mong i-attempt to control it. Learn to relax. Okay? The world is not all about you. Okay po. Next, keep a journal. It's very important. Why? For you to see your improvement. Kahapon, I'm sad. Ngayon, sad naman ako. Ngayon, sad ako pero medyo happy. So, okay yon. Yon. So, keep a journal. Next, manage your negative thoughts. appraise the situation. Label in a positive way. Label in a way that would help you cope up with the situation. It's very important. Ang first aid natin lagi dito, take care of yourself. Manage your negative thoughts. It is you who is creating your thoughts. So, simulan mong ayusin yung thoughts mo. Make them positive. Okay? Talk to positive people. Kaya nga yung next natin, reach out to your friends. But of course, it's pandemic. Okay, it's pandemic. Hindi naman natin sila pwedeng isama sa labas. But then, let's be creative. Okay, katulad nga nito, nakagawa ka ng paraan para may malaman ka tungkol sa anxiety and anxiety disorders. It's time for you to make your creative ways to reach out to them. And I tell you, the effect would be something extraordinary. Let's go to the next slide, please. Ayan po. So again, get better sleep. Sleeping helps the body to regenerate the lost energy that we have. And this is very important. Eat right. Alam niyo po, sabi sa akin ng sister ko, who is a nursing student, sabi niya, ate, what you eat, you are what you eat. Ayun, again, you are what you eat. So if you're eating good food, you would probably have good physical status. And in addition to that, no, sabi nga natin, eat right. Hindi lagi tayo na nakakakain ng available yung mga healthy food. Sabi nga nilang, ang mag-diet ay mahal. Okay? There are also instances that we can, it is also helpful to use food supplements or vitamins, which is, I believe Organic is also offering one of their products. Later on, Miss Luisa would be expounding more on that. It would really be very helpful. And a while ago, Miss Luisa, Sir Justin actually gave me some of the things, some of the researches about the product of the company, no? And it's very good lang for me, thinking about anxiety disorders and how are you going to deal with that. Disclaimer lang, no? It's really maganda talaga, okay? So it's also important for us kasi if we cannot eat things right, we have to make ways to get the nutrients that we're needing, okay? The vitamins are not only for us to be beautiful and confident to ourselves, but it is also appealing to our mental health, to our social health, yon. So I suggest, if of course you eat right, you take vitamins, you take your medications, and something like that. Then exercise. Exercising actually gives more positive hormones. Okay, and lastly, seek support. Please do seek support. There are so many psychologists, psychometricians, mental health practitioners in the Philippines. Most of them are licensed. Hindi lang natin sila na-appreciate. They are good. Hindi sila nangangain. So please, if you need help, seek support from professionals. Don't self-diagnose. Please don't self-diagnose. When you read it in Google, ask a professional.
Yes, hindi naman pwede to consult with Dr. Google, no? If you see
Yes.
something sa Dr. Google, you can go ask your real doctor. Okay, so thank you, Super, for this. Oh my gosh, can't speak properly anymore. But thank you, Miss Kiana, for this really, really informative talk, no, on anxiety and anxiety disorders. Kasi I think a lot of the viewers natin, and then even myself, you know, we have this misconception of ano ba yung totoong anxiety? Is it really like the anxiety that we experience on a daily basis, yung overthinking sometimes, or is it something more? Naka-experience ako ng panic disorder, does that mean panic attack, does that mean na may panic disorder ako, or one-off lang, no? So I think it was very helpful to clarify this. Ano ba yung takeaways, Miss Kiana, before we wrap this whole show up?
Okay. So, siguro this would be the final reminders, no, about disorders. For our viewers right now, okay, I also have this thinking na you're here for a purpose. Hindi ka napunta dito sa webinar na ito, dito sa session na ito, just because nagkataon lang that you browse it through Facebook. Okay? When there are instances like this, okay, make sure that you take care of yourself, you listen to instances like this, and accept them. Okay? Accept new information that is coming to you. And in relation to those people who are thinking if they have anxiety, please do ask for help. Kasi the more na tinatago nyo po yan at hindi nyo po yan kinaklarify sa professionals, hindi mawawala yung takot mo. Okay? Ang magpagamot ay hindi mali. Katulad lang yan ng lagnat, para mawala ang lagnat, kumonsulta tayo sa isang taong professional. But then in the end, of course, tayong lahat ay prone to having this anxiety and anxiety disorders. Okay? Let's always think in a positive way. Okay? It's not bad to have problems. What makes it bad is not addressing your problems. Lahat tayo ay nagkakaproblema, pero lahat tayo ay dapat lalaban para ayusin yung ating problema. So, maybe it would just be keep safe, everybody. Take care of your body, please. Take care of your body and take care of your mental health. Don't forget to pray.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Kiana. I think this was a very helpful session, and I can see already the comment section namin na a lot of people are very, very grateful for this. And I hope to see you the next time we ever talk about, mental health or any other kind of thing.
Always welcome, Miss Luisa.
Okay,
anything to help.
Take care. Okay, thank you. Take care. Okay, so I think that concludes our session for today. Kasi wala naman time, no? We kind of went over time. I'm just gonna go ahead and fast forward to this. So my sale na sa Lazada for our products, we have here 5% off on all bundle packs and additional discounts. And then we have 10% off on all single items that in my Earth Day celebration. And then for those of you that you want to be able to take part in our direct selling, our Olani PH is our official reseller, official direct selling platform for organic products, as well as Mestiza Philippines and Nuwa Organics. So we invite you to be one of our resellers to share the health and spread the wealth. And I think, one more. So our winners for the game. So did you guess who? It's Winona Ryder. So Winona Ryder is yung mom of Will Byers in the show Stranger Things. Winona Ryder has also been seen on a lot of other many cult classics. So for our winners for today are, drumroll, dun, 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 dun. Si Leo De Tyson, si Alali Layusa Escalante, si Ea Reyes, si Vivi Pepito, and si Davina Kalayan. Thank you so much for participating in our contest. So our staff will reach out to you here on your Facebook so that we can deliver your organic gift packs to you. So thank you again for watching us. Sorry na overtime me, but then I hope to see you again next week.
Wellness Wednesdays with Organic. We care because you matter.